Welcome to Lesson 7, Solving and Graphing Inequalities with Positive and Negative Coefficients. It's our review. And I should have added the word solving, checking, and graphing inequalities. This is on page 13, and we're going to go from start to finish, where we are given an inequality, we solve it, we decide whether we need to switch the inequality sign, we show how we check it, and then we'll finally graph it. So it's just a review, an overview of everything we've done so far. So let's recall when we work with inequalities that multiply or divide the variable by a negative number, we must switch the direction of the inequality sign in order to make the inequality true. And by that, the solution, the inequality, we end up with the solution. So we solve the following inequalities, then decide if the inequality sign should be switched. We're going to check our answer, and finally we're going to graph the solution. So this is going to require a lot from start to finish, but it's putting it all together. So let's see what we can do. We're going to start by solving, and so we're going to build our wall. I see that a is being multiplied by -4. So I'm going to do the opposite. I'm going to divide by -4 on both sides. So I'm going to drop down a, and -20 divided by -4 would be +5. Now we just finished dividing by a negative, which means that we have to switch this sign. So that sign is going to be switched. And yes, we had to switch it, and it's because we divided by a negative. All right, so now let's recall how we would check that. So we're going to start with the original inequality, and that started out as -4a, and that was less than -20. That's the original. So we now think our solution is a number that is greater than 5. So I'm going to choose 6. And then I have to multiply that by -4. And my solution, or my answer when I get done, should be less than -20. So -4 times +6 is -24. And that is indeed less than -20. If we looked on a number line, -24 is further from 0 than -20 is, so it's less. And finally, we're graphing the solution. Let's move that over. The solution is a is greater than 5. So I have to now graph the solution, which is a is greater than 5. So I'm going to choose a number in the middle, which is 5. I'm going to choose 5 and a couple numbers above, a couple numbers below. And by the way, I'm going through this quickly, so if you need to pause the video at any time, please do. Because it's greater than 5, but it does not include 5, I'm going to put an open circle on 5. It doesn't include 5, and it's all the numbers that are greater than 5, so that would be to the right of 5. So this is the graph. So now let's go back and try the equation, or the inequality for b. So we're going to drop our wall. We're going to get rid of the constant first, the number that's being added or subtracted by doing the opposite. So we add 1. That's going to leave -2x is greater than 10. And then I'm going to divide by -2 on both sides, leaving x, and 10 divided by -2 is -5. So should we switch the sign, yes or no? And then why? Well, we do want to switch the sign because we divided by a negative. So yes, because we divided by a negative. So now I'm going to move this up so you can see it a little bit. Now I'm supposed to show my check, but I have to go back to the original problem. So the original problem says negative 2x minus 1 is greater than 9. So let's write that down. So we're going to write down negative 2x minus 1 is greater than 9. And we need to choose a number based on our solution. So x is smaller than or less than negative 5. So I need to choose a number that's less than negative 5. So I'm going to choose negative 6. And I have to multiply this by negative 2, and then from that I have to subtract 1. And if my solution number is correct, all of that will be greater than 9. So if I look at negative 2 times negative 6, I'm going to get a positive 12. And then I have to subtract 1, and this should be greater than 9. And this is true because I get 11, and that is indeed greater than 9. So when I switch the sign, that was the correct thing to do. So now if I want to graph, I have to graph the solution. And it even says it in the directions. If we look at this, it says graph your solution. I'm not graphing here. This is not what I'm graphing. I'm graphing x is less than negative 5. So I'm going to choose negative 5 in the center of my graph. And I need a couple numbers above. Remember, the negative number line goes in the opposite direction than we think it is. It looks backwards, for lack of a better word. And the negative 5 is not included, so I'm going to put a hole or an open circle around. And these were numbers that were less than negative 5, so I need, on the negative side, I need this to move to the left. These look like they're getting bigger, but those numbers are actually getting smaller. So what I'd like to do is I'd like you to, let's go ahead and, would you solve C? And then start the video up again and see if we agree on the solution. Okay, you should have subtracted 3 on both sides, then multiplied by 8, and it has to be in that order. And now we need to decide whether we switch the inequality sign, yes or no. Well, it turned out it's no, because we did not need to divide, or we didn't divide or multiply by a negative. And it's not because we multiplied this time, it's because we didn't use a negative. So we'll put no, and it's because we multiplied by, a positive. So when we use a positive to multiply or divide, we do not switch the sign. So now I'd like you to go ahead and show the check using W is less than 16 as your solution. Restart the video when you're done. Okay, so our solution said that these were all numbers that were less than or equal to 16. Here's the original equation, original inequality rather. And the reason I chose 8 is because I was dividing by 8, and I just would prefer to work with a whole number. I could have chosen 15 or 14, any other number, but when I divided it by 8, I would have gotten a fraction or decimal. Nothing wrong with a fraction or decimal, just trying to go for ease of operation. So as long as it's a number that's less than 16, then that meets meets the parameters. So when I did that, 8 divided by 8 is 1. If I add 3, I do get a number that's less than or equal to 5. So now I'd like you to try to graph your solution and then restart the video. Okay, once again, recall the solution was W is less than or equal to 16. So I built a line around 16. These were numbers that were smaller than 16, so that's why we graphed to the left-hand side. And the reason why there's an closed in or filled in circle is because the answer could indeed equal 16, so 16 is part of the solution. So now please go to page 14. So on page 14, I'm more interested in knowing whether you are clear on whether you need to switch the inequality sign or not and why. You don't have to graph these and you don't have to show the check. So what I'd like you to do is complete these problems, and I will post the key in a future lesson. Thanks so much for watching and have a great day.